Welcome to another electronic video. I wasn't going to make another video after making the one I did this afternoon, but I was going to make a power supply out of this. But I had a change of heart. This thing is way too good to scrap. I'm not in a hurry for a power supply anyways, as I said, because I don't have any radios now that need repairing. Bob hasn't been around, and not only hasn't he been around, but there is no radios at Jewett City Flea Market lately. This here, I found out, is a model, is a HP Model 400H, like Henry 400H. I downloaded the manual on it. I guess there's 3 different models, and the PDF file covers all 3. It has a 1 amp fuse in it. It is not blown, and it is the correct fuse. That's the first thing you look. You take the fuse and take it out and make sure that the fuse is not too large. That's a very bad sign if you ever get a piece of equipment that has a very, very large fuse, like 10 times what the rating is. So this told me they had no shorts in it then, most likely. What it is an extremely sensitive vacuum tube AC voltmeter. The thing is, the book on this does not show the input. This is a RCA type jack, and it does not show the BNC jack over here. So these must have been added. Okay, your actual inputs are here, and this is your output for your oscilloscope. Jim Asbell chimed in on the comments. I haven't answered too many comments yet, but I did answer his. That he used to use these things years ago, and it's a very good piece of equipment. Nine tubes. Five electrolytic cans. A power transformer similar to what Tektronix would use. The workmanship in this thing is excellent. Let's turn it around here. I'm going to plug this in. I've already ran it through its paces. It draws 500 mils at 118 volts. Has a selenium rectifier. It uses the Sprague capacitors with the red writing. I understand that the Spragues of this type with the red writing are most likely good, but the Spragues of this type with the yellow writing is not. These are all original. These are Yellow Jacket. They're called Yellow Jacket. They're made by Sprague. These are original. This is too good to scrap. In addition to that, the chassis is not what I could use for a power supply. In other words, the back and everything is riveted right here across. This is all part of the chassis. So this is the back of the unit. So you could not gut all of this and expect the thing to stay together. You'll have the front panel and you'd have a loose back panel because that's all part of this chassis. So in order for me to put the meters in that I want to use, I would have to do a lot of modification here, and it would look like hell. This is too good to strip down. I know I said I do not need another VTVM. This, I think, is almost on the same type of piece of equipment that the Motorola's that I had. I had two Motorola meters that I sold. One was an AC voltmeter and one was a DC voltmeter along with an ohm meter. This is strictly an AC vacuum tube voltmeter, which reads from 0.001 volt up to 300 volts. Okay, that's not a big range. In other words, this is more audio AC. The frequency response, according to the book, is 20 cycles per second to 4 megacycles. And it's plus or minus 5% accuracy at that frequency, and it's even better when it's less than 5 megacycles. So I think this was added but I am not sure because there's a box here and I think this comes off. This would be the input part, but somebody, at least the manual does not show this and does not show the BNC, which is here. So they've got a BNC on the output, and the center lug pin of the BNC is directly connected to the red banana jack. The same with the input. The center pin of this RCA is directly connected to the red banana jack. So you got two inputs, and the probe that came with this looks like somebody hacked it. It's got an awful long lead. It's about 4 feet long on the ground. It looks like somebody made up an RCA connector years ago. This is the probe. Trying to get you in camera if I ever can keep myself from being so clumsy here. Alright, nothing fancy. I don't even know if it's original. It looks homemade to me. Alright, so I don't think this is original to it. Now we're going to plug her in. According to the book, you leave a few minutes warm up. There is no zero controls. In other words, there is no adjustment on the meter. It goes into like a calibration type of setup. Now, Jim, I'm sure you said you're very familiar with this meter. There seems to be some erratic operation with the meter, but it might be because I don't have the input shorted out. It's extremely sensitive, similar to the Motorola meters that I've had. So we're letting it warm up a little bit. You can probably see the needle moving. Okay. Now, as I go down in range, I'm down to, I gotta get my ugly head in the way, I'm sorry. I'm down to 0.03 volts. Okay. Now, it's probably picking up some stray, or it is a problem in the meter. All right. It's still, even though I got the tip shorted out, I touch it and it goes down even more. It's kind of weird. All right, now let's go down to the very lowest. Pegged all the way over. Shorted out. The needle is pegged out completely. All right, we'll take the input out. Needle is still pegged completely. Okay? On the lowest range. On the next lowest range, it's still pegged out. All right, this is doing, maybe I didn't let it warm up enough. It never pegged out on a, I learned to put my glasses on, I'll be able to see something. 0.01, it's still pegged out. Okay, now, let me stop the recording here. I'm taking too long here, as always. I got a piece of wire here. Unfortunately, it's probably about 8 inches long. But let's put it across the binding post here. Let's short out the input. Those binding posts were on so tight I had to use a lineman's pliers to free them, and I kid you not. All right, now you see it's pegged? I'm down the lowest range. I short out the input. Of course, I'm working right-handed. Hang on, I gotta do everything. I can't work right-handed. I'm useless with my right hand. I gotta do it left-handed. Okay. Sorry about that, but that's the best I can do. All right, I know it's a big jumper, but you see, you short out the input, and now it's behaving good. The needle isn't jumping all over, although it does go over as you throw the ranges. I put some a lot of deoxit on the switches here. I thought maybe that was probably some of the problem. It still wants to shoot to the right occasionally. Okay, so there could be a problem. I don't think this here is supposed to be here. The probe probably originally was connected to the binding post. If I can get that cover off, I'll probably put a BNC in here, like this side. I don't know why they use this instead of the BNC. But, okay, so this is the situation here. You can see where the needle is sitting right now, okay? But one thing that just jumped, I'll tell you why. I got a very strange phenomena here. Very strange, and maybe Jim might be able to tell me on this. Let me get the camera up close. Okay, that's the tube I want. This is a 6CB6. We used to use these a lot in the old 40s and 50s television. Okay? When I wiggle this tube, the needle goes crazy. I cleaned the socket, I put deoxit on the pins, I sprayed the socket, I worked it in and out. I don't know what it is. But when I touch that, that needle goes crazy out there. Okay, I'm going to touch that 6CB6. I'm just barely touching the tube. I'm touching the shield and wiggling the shield, just barely touching it. The input's still shorted. Now, I'll try other ranges. Nope. Every time I touch it, very gently touching that 6CB6. It's got a tube shield on it. I've tried it with the shield and without the shield. Doesn't make any difference. So this might be why they put it out of service. Okay, now, let me stop the video here. This is the base of the 6CB6. When I very gently touch this, anything around here, it does the same thing. The needle is moving every time I touch it. And I'm using a plastic pen. All right, I looked under my microscope thing there, and I don't see anything broke, cracked, or anything in here, but it's something in this area. So I don't know, but something is wrong in here, and I can't find it. But you can see the quality of this thing. It's almost like Tektronix. I mean, 9-tube vacuum tube voltmeter. This is way too good to scrap. Like I say, I don't really need a power supply. Not that bad. Not that I need to strip this thing down for. So in a matter of time, I'll get a case. That's not a problem, because the power supply I want to build is going to be very simple. It's not going to be like what Doug is doing. It's going to be a simple 450 volt, maybe close to 500. It's going to have a variac on the primary so that I can adjust my voltage that way. It's going to be a single output with a 6.3 and a 12 volt filament transformer. It has to be a separate filament transformer because we're going to be varying the input in order to adjust the voltage. So it's going to be a simple power supply. But like I say, this is way too good to strip down. I mean, just look at the workmanship in here. Out of curiosity, I'm going to see if I can remove this cover, because I still think that is added. I think the only input is the red and black right there. That's what the book shows. The book does not show the RCA, nor does it show the BNC that you see down there in the output. Okay, I got the two nuts out of here. That's your input. There's your BNC. Camera will see it better than I can see it. It looks to me like it's an add-on. If there's going to be an add-on like that, I'd rather take that out and put a BNC in there. You got to have something in there because there's going to be a hole in there if I just take it out completely, or unless I disconnect it. I'll get a light in here. It's fairly neat. The lead is a little long. The little red wire there, it's a little long. And it simply goes right to the red binding post. Right there. So somebody added that. All right, I'm going to give you a little closer look at it. This is the socket of the 6CB6. Touching that cap right there, or any components around that immediate area, makes that needle jump all over the place. There don't seem to be any loose pins. There don't seem to be any bad solder connections as close as my rotten eyes can see. But I don't see anything unusual there. No pins shorted. So I really don't know. But anyways, this area down here, I really would like a BNC in there, but I'm not going to go into this right at the moment. I'm making this video just to show you that this is not going to be a candidate for a power supply. Okay, that's the story there, folks. Oh, it works. I did not test the tubes, but I did take out all the tubes that I could reach. There's a couple of them I could not reach and would not be able to see to get them back in the socket because of my eyes. So what I do is I use one of these here bottles, and I spray some deoxid in these containers. Then I take the tube, put the pins in there and shake it around a little bit. Then I take the tube and I insert it in the socket, push it in and out about 4 or 5 times. On this 6CB6 socket, when I did that, I still got the intermittent thing, so I sprayed the socket itself. But that didn't make any difference. So I don't think it's a socket. There's got to be, maybe it is a crack in the resistor, but I don't see it. And I don't think it's the tube itself. Moving a tube, around in the socket, if the tube has a short in it, it's not going to show up or go away by moving the tube. Sometimes tapping on the tube will do it. But I didn't tap on it this last time. 6CB6s are noted for short. They show short a lot. Same with a 6GH8. In my years of doing old televisions many, many years ago, we used to find a lot of shorted 6CB6 tubes. But I don't think that is the problem. I think it's a connection in there somewhere. But anyways, you can see that we shorted out the input, and the needle now stays at the bottom. But adding this jack here isn't helping anything. I'd rather see a BNC in here. The input goes through a resistor, and then it goes through the chassis on the other side, which you cannot see because it's covered with components. So the input goes to a resistor, and then wherever else it goes to after that, I don't know. So this RCA jack is simply jumping over to the red BNC. It's tacked on there because I looked at it very closely. So anyways, that's the story. I figured I'd throw this video together, and if I keep on talking, this thing's going to take all night to render because I'm on HD here. Thanks for watching. Have a good night, everybody.